Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news tonight out of Valencia, California, where an interesting item has appeared on some of the Six Flags Magic Mountain maps as of late. Towards the back of the park, where Apocalypse currently stands, so all the way from Apocalypse to the go-kart track, is all been greened out on the map, and it says, "Building for your future enjoyment. Rides and attractions in this area will temporarily be unavailable while we build an exciting new project for the future. Thank you for your understanding." So, Dwayne, Magic Mountain has been one of the Six Flags parks that I've been targeting to possibly get a big roller coaster for 2019, and this would suggest that that might be true. What are some of your thoughts here on Magic Mountain?
You sent me the picture, and I was looking through it, and the first thing that we noticed was that Apocalypse is covered up.
Yeah.
And so it's like covered up in green, and so like immediately you think, are they taking that out? They just got done retracking most of that ride, so why would you take it out? But then if you read, it does say that these rides and attractions back here are going to be closing. So my guess is that they just greened all that out to show that everything in this green area is what's going to be closed, because there's some other things in there as well that are greened out that probably are going to have to close because of the construction. So if you're doing that, you know that this is going to be a big project. It's interesting that Magic Mountain, of course, is the big park. That's where the majority of the coasters are. It's the one that always tried to rival Cedar Point or whatever, and we were in the coaster race of who was going to have the most coasters and all of that. But Magic Mountain hasn't been on the radar lately, and so, is it time for them to get something, and are they going to go massive here in 2019? It is a big area that they have shaded in green. There's a lot of land behind Apocalypse. You've got the land that it's kind of centralizing, and it's interesting. What then type of ride is it going to be? Is it going to be something that is unique, something that's not there? Are we going to get something like a Mac? All right, that people have been writing that I've seen that are over in Europe right now, and they're saying something like Tyrone or whatever. I mean, not just those type rides. Bringing something like that over here is, I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. And somebody's going to step out and say, we want that type of ride here. The people would absolutely love it. And if it's not going to be Cedar Fair, it's going to go into a place like Magic Mountain. So that's what I am going to guess. Now, you have a little more information than I do probably about what you think it is, but that's what I would be hoping for, although I'm also not hoping for it because I want a ride like that to be closer to my home because I don't go out there. So if it's going to be placed here in this country, fine, but I'd rather it be a little bit closer here to home.
Well, it seems like Mac has become like the go-to answer for a lot of things this year, whereas previously everything was RMC, RMC, RMC. Mm-hmm. It seems like this season everything's Mac, 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 Mac. And, what's interesting is Magic Mountain, like, because a lot of people are saying that it's going to be a Mac launch coaster. We know Carowinds probably getting a Mac launch coaster next year, most likely. Magic Mountain already has two major launch coasters. You have Superman, which is one of the first launch coasters, and then you also have Full Throttle, which is a much smaller launch coaster, but does a pretty good job of launching you multiple times. So you wonder how much you can buy into the launch coaster concept. I do think you're right about Mac needing something, that Magic Mountain needs something smaller to the ground, something like a Maverick or a Tyrone or a Helix that we know Mac does. Something like Helix would be amazing. Now, that's also a launch coaster, very tight to the ground, very, terrain hugging. And like you said, there is a whole lot of space between Apocalypse and the go-karts. There's a whole lot of space behind there and to the side of Apocalypse. And so your layout could almost be anything you wanted here. And you could get really low to the ground. You could do big drops. The biggest question is Six Flags, for a number of seasons, has stayed away from the major investments, the huge coasters that cost like $20 million. And what's interesting is, Danny and I were talking about this the other night. We were trying to figure out what were the last big coasters. Great America put in Goliath, but we don't think that came anywhere close to $20 million. Great America put in X-Flight. The last big coaster that we could come up with was Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia, which was the mid-2000s. That was a B&M Hyper that probably cost, probably right around $20 million, especially adjusted for inflation today. You're talking about, 12 years ago already at this point. So the question is Six Flags going to get back into the big coasters, or is this Mack launch coaster still going to be small? Maybe the tighter to the ground fits that better, and you could get away with something a little less expensive. We do know Time Traveler costs $27 million, and that has a double launch in it. A lot of that comes with the spinning trains. The development of that costs a lot of that. But so I don't know if a Mack launch coaster fits what Six Flags has been doing. But then again, maybe Six Flags has realized that they need to move away from doing the small coasters, especially for a place like Magic Mountain, and doing something big might fit the bill. I don't know. It's interesting to see. I think the second question, though, is with them greening out this whole area, are we going to see a complete re-theme of the back of the park? That the back of the park's pretty boring, pretty bland, not a whole much going on back there. I immediately jumped to like Justice League or DC. Could you make the whole back of the park DC maybe? I don't know. What do you think?
That's what we were talking about this off the air. And I said, why not cash in on what's doing well right now? Now, the thing is Justice League, DC, and again, always behind Marvel, but whatever in that regards, but it's doing well. Are you going to continue that and cash in on it? Because then the more kind of branding you do with that, the more things you can sell in the shops, things of that nature. So I wonder and again, that's one of the parks I've never been to. So I can't sit here and go out and say, okay, I've been there. I know exactly what's going on. But looking at pictures and stuff and only having that ride back there, the Apocalypse or whatever, something needs to be done branding wise. Now, I am in huge favor, just like we talked about in our episode about Kings Island, of trying to get the theming back up. Now, Six Flags has never really been known as a beautiful park per se. They theme their areas, but it's more concrete and
Magic Mountain has a little bit of that, but Magic Mountain, I think, has a little bit more character than the rest of the parks. Where in the middle they have this big mountain you gotta climb up it. Oh, it's terrible. Right. But it still has. It used to have a lot more trees before the Ninja accident. Yeah. And then once we had the Ninja accident, they cut back a lot of the trees in a lot of the parks so they wouldn't interfere with the different ride operations, which was unfortunate but understandable.
Right, exactly.
But Magic Mountain always had a little bit more charm to it, especially in certain parts. I won't say the whole park was was Busch Gardens. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that there's nice parts of the park, and I think maybe increasing some of the theming in certain areas would really help. That back part of the park, it just felt real bland to me, real open to me. Like, why should I walk back there if I'm not going to go ride Apocalypse? So hopefully this changes that, like you said, to make it all feel more one park and use that space, because that's where the giant inverted boomerang used to be. I forgot. I don't know if it's Goliath now. I think it might have still been Deja Vu when it was at Magic Mountain. That's where that used to be, and they took that out. They really didn't ever replace anything. They put in, some little things. But hopefully we see not only a big roller coaster, but a big re-theme of that area to make it a lot cooler than it is. And who knows, maybe it's a completely new theme that we don't even know about yet. And
it could be based on it. Going back to the coaster just for a second, I was sitting, as we talk, this entered my mind. Where has B&M been in the discussion for 2019?
Yeah.
So, and again, is there enough room back there for something to try and be like Fury? Is Six Flags going to go to that extreme to say, look, we have to up our game? I mean, so I'm sitting here thinking about that because we haven't heard much from B&M this year so far in regards to 2019. Are they the ones working with B&M to come up with something like Fury that is going to be this huge project, and then they can take that theme of whatever the ride may be and then integrate that into that area back there?
And don't forget too that Mack also builds really big coasters. They've never topped 300, but they do have a number of hypers, overseas in China. Like things like Red Flash that look absolutely outstanding. with big loops, big drops. You know, a lot of people are saying Mac, though, and I'm kind of getting a little bit annoyed with Mac always being the answer this season, as I was last year with
With
RMC.
RMC, yep.
You know, it's just every year we got a new company, you know, that's doing everything. And I've been asking for Mac coasters for a while, so I'm not that upset by it.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty happy that Mac is finally here. I rode Time Traveler, a fantastic ride. So if you can do anything close to that, you know, hopefully Magic Mountain has a winner here. And like I said, Magic Mountain needs, like, they had Twisted Colossus. It was a redo, but I feel like that's one of the parks that has been kind of quiet the last few seasons, that they need something big, and hopefully back there is where it's going to be. So we shall keep you updated here on all the things going on, or, you know, maybe we'll go back to RMC. Why not an RMC T-Rex track? Be the first ones to do that out there. Why not, right? So we'll let you know what's happening here at Six Flags Magic Mountain. As always, I am Andy Robarchak from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Dwayne Sponseller from Parkersburg, West Virginia. And as always, may the Q lines be ever in your favor.
Right on, right, Warriors.